Hey, this is Pastor Bunjee Garrett, and I want to take this opportunity to present you with another word of encouragement. Now, as I continue to consider the current state of our country, I can't help but to remember something that Paul wrote when he described those who exchange the truth for a lie. It's actually found in Romans chapter 1. There, Paul refers to those whose foolish hearts are darkened because of their unbelief. And while they profess themselves to be wise, they actually become foolish. Case in point, let's consider those who, up until recently demanded that we defund the police, but are now baffled by the steady rise of mass shootings happening here in America. And in an attempt to solve this problem, well, they want to create new gun laws. And despite the fact that criminals don't obey gun laws. And let's not forget that the very people who insist that a person must be 21 years old before they can purchase an AR-15, well, these are the same people who want to lower the age for voting to 16 years old. Oh, and these are the same people who think that prepubescent kids should have the right to acquire life-changing puberty blockers without any parental consent, as they simultaneously demand the right to terminate the life of any unborn baby. Yeah, they're all over the place with these ideas. Without debate, we live in a time when unrepentant people profess themselves to be wise, all the while becoming foolish. These are the same people who want to groom our children by forcing our kids to celebrate men who dress in drag. And while they can't seem to provide us with a working definition of what it means to be a man or a woman, they simultaneously insist that men can become women and women can become men. Well, what do you mean when you say a man can become a woman? What is a man and what is a woman? They can't tell you. And these are the people that also encourage tolerance for those who belong to the LGBTQIA plus community, because tolerance is something that they, value, but then they're quick to condemn anyone who disagrees with their worldview, in the name of tolerance. Without debate, we live in a time when unrepentant people profess themselves to be wise, all the while becoming foolish in their thinking. There are those who insist that racism is wrong while simultaneously expressing their hatred for certain races. There are those who assure us that America's colonial government is systemically evil while simultaneously demanding financial aid from the very system that they despise. These are the same people who insist that capitalism is based on corruption and exploitation while simultaneously purchasing their favorite products created by capitalist companies. That's right. The pseudo-socialists love to use their smartphones to post all of their anti-capitalist propaganda while wearing their favorite name brand clothing created by their favorite capitalist companies. They can't keep their thoughts straight on all of this. Their worldview is a complete contradiction. Without debate, we live in a time when unrepentant people profess themselves to be wise, all the while becoming foolish in their thinking. Another example of this can be seen in the fact that the wealthy people with the largest carbon footprints in the world are also those who want to regulate the carbon footprint of everyone else. And while they fly around the world in private jets and consume the best cuts of meat, they're simultaneously resetting the economy right now so that it becomes impossible for people to own a car, and the only food we'll be able to afford soon will be filled with protein-rich insects. And those who have embraced this climate change cult, that is pushing for all of these changes, they're completely convinced that this is the only way to save our planet because, in just another 10 years, it's all going to blow up, right? Without debate, we live in a time when unrepentant people profess themselves to be wise, all the while becoming foolish in their thinking. Further evidence of this can be seen in the fact that illegal immigrants are clamoring to cross our border for the hope of the American dream. All the while, thousands of Americans are now heading south of the border in what's been called the Great California Exodus. That's right. Americans are now fleeing to Mexico in order to escape the American dream and the crippling cost of living that's occurred under the Biden administration, which assures us, and I quote, that America has achieved the most robust recovery in modern history. What economy is he looking at? All I can think is that he's professing to be wise, but has become a fool. Without debate, we live in a day and an age when common sense is no longer common. And while bureaucrats like the fully boosted Dr. Fauci, who just tested positive for COVID, they continue to control the health industry, We continue to watch our society being plagued with never before seen medical conditions and viruses like the increasing spike in sudden adult death syndrome, as well as massive blood clots and, monkeypox, which until recently was rarely found outside of Central and West Africa. Now it's spread to the United Kingdom, to Spain, Portugal, France, the United States, Australia, United Arab Emirates, as well as Israel. Now, at this point in time, we can't say for sure, but I can't help but to wonder, does this outbreak of monkeypox have anything to do with the monkeypox research recently conducted at the Wuhan Institute of Virology? Thankfully, Ed Brown at Newsweek assures us that this theory would be nothing more than nonsense. Yeah, nothing to see here, just keep on moving. Without debate, we live in a time when unrepentant people profess themselves to be wise, all the while becoming foolish in their thinking. And it's sad to say that the world is filled with blind guides who are leading the blind down the broad road that leads to destruction. With that being the case, the best thing that we can do is to seek the Spirit of the living God so that we can walk in the light of the truth. This reminds me of the lesson that Jesus taught in John chapter 8. It's there where he declares, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life." In other words, those who walk by faith with Jesus Christ will also walk in the light of his truth. Sadly, Jesus also informed us that men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. And knowing that the world is filled with evil leaders who want to enslave us in spiritual darkness, I encourage every person to embrace the Lord Jesus Christ so that we can walk in the light of his truth. And listen, if you're already walking in the light of the Lord, then I encourage you to remember that the born-again believer has been called to reflect the light of the Lord in this dark world as we help others to see their need for Jesus Christ. With this as the goal, I encourage you, let's ask the Lord for the wisdom that we need so that we can continue to fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.